Let's cast our minds back to late 2019. Back when the world was just moving at its usual frantic pace. Flights were constantly crisscrossing the globe, stadiums were absolutely packed, and our daily routines felt totally permanent. Honestly, humanity was completely unaware of the invisible threat that was quietly emerging. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a structured look at the story of COVID-19. And we're not just looking at it as a historical event, but really as the defining global disruption of our entire generation. Okay, let's dive into this, because what's really so profound about this topic is that it's a truly universal narrative. History is usually something that happens to other people, right? In other places or in other times. But this microscopic invisible entity literally brought all 8 billion of us together into one shared ordeal. No matter where you lived, what language you spoke, or what your background was, your life was altered. We all lived this story, and understanding the anatomy of how it unfolded is absolutely crucial to processing exactly what we went through as a global community.
So let's start at the beginning. Section 1. The virus emerges.
Right, so picture this. It's December 2019, and doctors in Wuhan, China start noticing patients coming in with this strange pneumonia-like illness. And the scary part, it just wasn't responding to standard treatments. Scientists rushed to investigate, and they quickly pinpointed the culprit. It was a novel coronavirus, what we now scientifically call SARS-CoV-2. Now, what made this bug so incredibly dangerous was its stealth, and honestly, how it traveled. It spread primarily from human to human through respiratory droplets. That meant every cough, every sneeze, or even just a close conversation was a potential vector. And because it was novel, meaning brand new, our immune systems had literally zero prior exposure to it. The entire global population was left completely vulnerable. And the sheer speed of the spread was just unprecedented. Look, in previous centuries, something like this might have stayed localized. But in our hyper-connected world, airports basically acted as giant distribution networks. Within weeks, it was crossing borders via international flights at an alarming rate, popping up on continent after continent. And then came that definitive moment. On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization officially declared a global pandemic. What started as a local outbreak was now undeniably a worldwide crisis.
Which brings us to the next phase, Section 2. The world pauses.
The world paused. I mean, it sounds like a tagline from sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But we actually lived through this surreal reality. To slow the spread and stop our healthcare systems from totally collapsing, governments all over the globe instituted the largest lockdowns in human history. Almost overnight, the constant, bustling noise of civilization was just silenced. Think back for a second to those eerily quiet streets in major cities. The world literally stopped. It's an event that remains one of the most astonishing logistical and psychological shifts humanity has ever gone through. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it shows in our daily lives. On the outside, the world turned into a ghost town. Empty roads, shuttered storefronts, locked offices, closed schools. But inside, wow, our private spaces became incredibly complex. Suddenly, your home had to be your office, your kid's school, your gym, and your safe bunker, all at the same time. We were all thrust into this exhausting new reality of back-to-back online classes and remote work, surrounded by a brand new arsenal of masks and endless bottles of hand sanitizer. It was a complete inversion of how society is supposed to operate. Moving into the heaviest part of our timeline, Section 3, Impact and Frontline Heroes. The devastating impacts we faced were truly twofold. On one side, you had this staggering health crisis. Hospitals worldwide were pushed way beyond their breaking points. We saw heartbreaking shortages of vital resources, things like oxygen and ICU beds, and of course, the tragic loss of millions of lives. But right alongside that was an equally brutal economic crisis. Millions of livelihoods simply vanished overnight. Small businesses, which are really the lifeblood of our communities, were forced to close their doors for good, dealing a massive blow to the global economy. The pain was multidimensional, and frankly, it's a pain millions are still navigating today. But, in the midst of all that profound darkness, we also saw the very best of humanity step up. Our frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, all the essential staff, they became our ultimate shields. These folks fought day and night. They were exhausted, sweating inside layers of suffocating PPE kits, literally risking their own lives to save others. They walked directly into the eye of the storm every single day, while the rest of us were told to stay home. They are, without question, the real heroes of this narrative, and their courage is something history should never, ever forget.
All right, let's look at how we responded. Section 4, Science Fights Back.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the timeline of our scientific achievement here was nothing short of miraculous. Step 1.
As the virus spread, scientists in labs all over the globe immediately got to work sequencing the virus, testing, and sharing data across borders in this amazing display of international collaboration. And that led directly to step 2, developing highly effective vaccines in record-breaking time. I mean, what normally takes a decade was done in mere months, thanks to groundbreaking mRNA technology. Finally, step 3, governments and health organizations launched massive worldwide vaccination drives. It was literally the largest logistical health operation ever attempted.
And that brings us to 2021. That year is going to be remembered as the big turning point. The rollout of vaccines globally meant that, slowly but surely, the virus's grip started to loosen. We saw shots going into arms in massive football stadiums, community centers, local pharmacies, everywhere. It was the year humanity firmly drew a line in the sand. We proved that through innovation, determination, and a sheer refusal to give up, we could reclaim our lives and start that slow, cautious journey back to normal.
Which leads us to the final act of our journey. Section 5, Lessons for Humanity.
United, we overcame. It's funny, for all the deep isolation of the lockdowns, the pandemic paradoxically showed us the incredible power of community. Think about it. We saw neighbors buying groceries for the elderly. We saw entire cities clapping for healthcare workers from their balconies. We realized that our individual safety was completely tied to the safety of the person next to us. Humanity found its greatest strength not by isolating, but in a profound shared togetherness.
So, the crucial point is really these 4 big takeaways. First, we were abruptly reminded that health is our greatest wealth. Without it, literally everything else stops. Second, we learned that science and unity are, without a doubt, our most powerful tools against these kinds of existential threats. Third, the pandemic proved beyond any debate that every single human life on this planet is interconnected and essential. And lastly, it proved that when we actually stand together, using our collective empathy and intellect, absolutely no challenge is too difficult to overcome.
But I want to leave you with this provocation. Are we ready for the next storm? It's totally human nature to want to just forget the trauma and go back to the comfort of the status quo. But experts warn us that this probably won't be the last global health crisis we face. So, will we remember these hard-earned lessons? Will our healthcare systems stay robust? Will our scientific communities stay funded and collaborative? Because the true test of our resilience isn't just how we survived this pandemic, it's how we prepare for the next one. We'll conclude this explainer with a simple dedication. In memory of all we lost, in hope of all we learned. The story of COVID-19 is one of profound grief, incredible sacrifice, but also ultimate survival. Let's honor those who are no longer with us by fiercely protecting the lessons they helped us uncover. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and above all, stay safe.